Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Cosmic Cafe as we build the bridges between Bali and Mexico. It was time for tea with Yssah, and we felt to open this for a recording to see what wanted to come through our communion today.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And thank you again for this cosmic tea that we always get to enjoy. Yeah. Well, you know that I was asking you, what have you tuned into the situation right now in Africa, mainly Egypt and the whole Middle East? Like, what's the role that energetically those lands are playing in this evolutive stage in humanity?
When you ask that question, the first word that comes up is transformation. And a massive purification and a recalibration to the originator gates.
Yeah. You know, something very interesting that I have always been captivated by is the fact that when we go through all these lands, there are very interesting codes that, for instance, when you go to Egypt, it looks like it's not part of Africa anymore. There are all these Middle East imprints that it's like you are there, like you are crossing the Channel of Suez and you're already in the other side. And I believe that um, the and I perceive that the role that Egypt is playing is being that bridge in between worlds, because Africa is so much about the richness of the origin, and the whole Middle East as well, just coming from another approach due to all the cultural aspects, religious aspects, that even though they're highly spiritual, you can clearly perceive how it's not as pristine as it is when it comes to Africa, the root, you can feel it, you can breathe it, and how it's anchoring you to the chakra, to the root chakra. It's like I feel vibrating the land. And you can experience that in the south part of Egypt, which there is Aswan. And then you can do perceive all those African codes, like bringing and guarding that part of the root chakra and that beaming of the heart, that beating of the heart. And you said about transformation and like in all these places, as we know, Sinai for me it's also like a key point in between all these lands, because for me Sinai is the full emanation of unity. We have this place that is just now being built. About it will have a church, like a Catholic church. It will have a synagogue, and it will have a mosque, like in Egypt, but now in like the one in Cairo, but now in Sinai. And there will not be allowed to put, like any symbols or that could serve as a flag for each one of the religions. So that's very interesting. And I can perceive how all these ancient actions that were encrypted in each one of these places are right now fulfilling a role of, getting everything, dissolving like all of those structures and connecting right to the essence. The essence, like the Babel Tower, for me, this is like this huge, huge stage that is being imprinted, throughout all these actions to go back to that place, to that space of unity where we get to speak in the same language. And I believe that Middle East is playing big time that role, going back and speaking the same language. You can even see it in the United Arabic countries. It's like, it's pulsing that.
Yeah, what comes is the word reunification and the language of love. And it is really interesting, the different felt sense of the continent of Africa. There's like Africa, and then there's Egypt. And it's a very, very distinctly different frequency in the land masses there. And that does change slightly when you get into the south of Egypt and into the Nubian culture and into Black Africa, where the djembe drum is a very significant heartbeat with the planetary system, and deep into the root and the base chakras down there as we go further down the planet, down the continent. And what else comes to mind is the Stargate systems throughout the Middle East, which were, during the turning over of time, we had very limited time to actually close down all the Stargate systems, the galactic gateways and the inner Earth gateways. Of course, those that were closed down and secured safely have been very easy to reopen when their time has come. Yet many in the Middle East were compromised at this turning over of time, at the time of the fall. And has been a lot of competition between off-planetary galactics from other systems that have wanted to commandeer those gateways as their own. And these ones have been, over a period of time, by a lot of work that's been done there by many, have been evicted from that space so that the original custodians of these gateways can be restored as the gateways are resurrected into their originator coding.
Well, thank you for mentioning that, because when it comes to those Stargates, how they have been fighting over, because on one side we can see that, of course, there is that that effect of what once was done, and now that's why the lands are, like fighting. But in the end, it all comes to that, the power of the land that in which one of these cultures reside, and they want to take over because there are the Stargates there. And now linking it to that unification of the language. Well, this also plays a role when we're talking about geometries, and when we talk about opening those stargates, it requires a very specific process that some of them, they have reached the technology. The other ones, they are trying to, and there are other ones that are not meant to be open, like in a very literal technological way, like only with artifacts. They require a high level of resonance in knowing how to perform very specific geometries that can only be assembled through the heart vortex, because there then it's being created all this plasmic field that actually enables that process. And I believe that that's what they are actually pointing out to, that they won't be able to be opened in the way that they had been opening them. You know, it requires that formula that involves that only capability that comes through the heart being able to ignite in a very specific way the plasmic field, and then, you know, opening to a very geometrical procedure, and like with codes that, yeah.
It's what comes to mind when we talk about that is the way the arcs are encoded to reopen and reactivate with the correct signature match. And it can't be fabricated. It can't be interesting, the word molested comes up. but quite literally, it can't be corrupted. That they will only activate and come online when the individuals who are carrying the correct signature match meet it in a space of love and free will to unlock the systems of the new arcs, of the old arcs in the new way.
Yes, yes, beautifully said. Beautifully said. And you know, there is also going to be something like a major event happening in 2027, which is the eclipse, the solar eclipse in Luxor, which energetically will be very potent. You know, it's there will be a lot of activation, energies coming through, and preparation for those stargates to align into a very specific frequency, which of course involves with the heart, as we have said, and very precise encoding that specific beings hold. And it will also be aligned to a very specific stellar encoding that was prepared for when that time happened. You know, it's like everything, you know, because it has also been spoken in 2039, the return of Quetzalcoatl as a consciousness, Kukulkan, you know, but yet when we talk about this as at an interstellar level, then we're talking about star conjunctions, about alignments, about things happening from at an astronomical level that will actually empower those stargates. And then it's the point where all these stargates and other artifacts will be fully activated.
Just talking about it gives me a shower of ecstasy. I've got Cleopas streaming through my system right now. And as you were describing it, this eclipse that will be a total eclipse through Luxor, as what there's 3 significant T squares at that time, it looks like as well. So it's an extraordinary astrological alignment, as above, so below. And as I say that, I watch the Nile River, which is a reflection of the Milky Way, literally just open up as a river of stars. It's like a next level of connection throughout our star systems will be enabled at that time. Oh.
Yes, yes, I can definitely feel it. And I can also see how also why a lot of mainstream is trying to put that down through, or could be trying to put that down, because from here to 2030 is a full preparation to be in the right place at the right time to precisely occupy our place and generate this huge torsion, because for sure after 2030 life in earth will shift big time. The thing is that we are capable to shape that reality that we will be at some point embodying, so it's like, whether you fall for just, you know not being an active part of it, or actually go through that initiation, that preparation for when the time comes, be at the right place at the right moment, and everything is already being given. I feel that a lot of us are already feeling the call to be at specific places around very specific times, you know?
It is, and that's another thing when you were mentioning that. It's like, yes, mm, the focus of the eclipse may be in Luxor, however, it's affecting the whole planet. And there'll be people whose system might ignite like mine has with that date, with that alignment on in 2027 eclipse. However, where your system needs to be may be completely different. In that time, I was asking, am I meant to be in Egypt for that alignment? No. My system's required on another point of the planet with that awareness, with that connection, and fully present in, interesting, the word realize, it needs to be realized from a different point on the planetary system. Yeah.
Yes, yes, and that's the important part for me of unity and resonance, that it's generated when each one is occupying the place that it corresponds, not if we are literally all together, yet when everyone is, just being where it is being required and doing their own activation and performance.
It is, and being all together from the different points. It's like that unified field that surrounds and passes through the planet is what's required. And it's not so much an action of doing in those places, it's an action of being fully present in our bodies, in our hearts, and with conscious awareness that we are connected to the whole, and that our significance of being present, whether that's, in the redwoods of California, or in the red rocks of Sedona, or
Exactly.
in the Blue Mountains,
Yes.
or in an ocean or on an island, wherever it is, the fact that we are there and we are fully connected and
Yes.
attuned.
It's like from those 12 points where I perceive and remember that those 12 wormholes are in the triangles, it's each one will be emanating and emitting from our plasma field all those codes for to actually hold a space for those stargates. And because we are hearing more and more about the presence of the ET, the galactic community, like it's nothing new. Nevertheless, the fact that it's already opening up to the field, like very evident. And it's like even talking about this is more common than it was before. So the fact that we are going to the next stage in physical interaction with the galactic community, and actually, owning or mastering our multidimensional bodies all the way how it's needed and required to actually bring into full activation the full spectrum of those stargates, and restoring a lot of timelines, restoring a lot of timelines, and how even yeah, it all comes to, when I'm talking about this preparation, it's this high message. It's not just about, yes, be loved. It's about really masterizing the technology of the heart, the heart.
Yeah, just when you said restoring the timelines, I didn't see it as restoring them. I saw it as closing the gaps between. It's almost like time folding in upon itself. And we had your cat to join us on this last day, 12th of December, 12th of August, which is often signifies the closure of the Lionsgate Passage. So lovely to have your cat here with us. So yeah, not so much about restoring timelines, but closing the gap on them, so time can fold in on itself, so we can come fully into this present moment and not be informed by our past and keep repeating cycles. Rather, let us close the gaps and arrive fully into present so that we can build something entirely new.
Well, yeah. And when I say like restoring the timelines, for instance, we know that when we are closing the gaps, what we are really doing is expanding the information within each timeline, because the gap in per se does not exist. The thing is that we haven't remembered it. We haven't remembered that the information within that gap to bring in the full story in unity. So that's what I was referring to, restoring it, because then you're bringing the full information into enlightenment, that it's already there, but it's dormant, so we're just popping out. That's how I perceive it.
Yeah, it's reclaiming those aspects of ourselves that have been scattered through time, space, and dimension, and bringing them and their knowledge and their wisdom and their gifts and their learning into this here and now.
Yes. And I don't know what you have been tuning into, the importance of the plasma, because actually if we bring that, what we are talking about, the timelines and so forth, and the restoration and gaps, and it's, for instance, plasma is 99.9% so forth of the matter, and actually also of what it's called as the antimatter, yet at a very different scale, reaching the 0 point energy. So I truly feel that if we don't master our plasma body, we won't be able to reach the upgrade that is happening through all those plasma codes coming from the sun, because, and like coming from the stars, because that is, I cannot state it as a fundamental and absolute truth. However, I can express for me how vital I've been shown that this is required for the humans to do, at least the ones that choose to stay here and going to the next stage called 5D, fifth dimensional form of perception, and so forth, because when we see our light body, fully activated in other beings, it is actually us from the future, which is, It's not really future, it's a fractal of ourselves, just showing like, hey, you need to reach here, you need to reach this point. And how they are opening many of the stargates are actually through plasma tech. That's how they unfold the holofractographic field, through plasma. So if we are really to open wherever we are, whatever we're doing, if we are really going to track into the encoding that we are required to very specific stargates, then it's through our plasma that it is happening, unfolding that holofractographic field without the need of machinery, like quantum machinery. We don't have access to it or whatever, it's our own quantum machinery that is our body, that we're going to activate that plasma in order to open up those stargates, and
And this is why I'm getting course corrected to focus on my Mastery of Multidimensionality mentorship program, because I can see now why this is a vital piece of our embodiment process and of our service, and where practitioners and facilitators are being asked to go into the next level of embodiment, connection, coherence, and service. And one of the conversations that came up in our last circle was, how are you working with light teams and light ships? And this has to do with how we are going to be working with our galactic brothers and sisters who are not embodied on the earth plane, while we are, and as we operate as like the anchor to. And one thing, it's been great having the circle, because the questions that are asked can make me help understand better the way my system operates, if that makes sense. So if I'm working one-on-one with a person who is very dedicated to their embodiment and evolutionary journey, is ready to pick up the last of their soul pieces and connect to their galactic selves, we will often work with light teams who are able to operate through our shared system, because at the frequency my system stabilized at. And then I was asked about light ships, and it works the same way with the planetary body. But there's literally, I journey on Earth, and there's usually 3 light ships connected and nearby with my walk. And when I'm working with different points on the planet, more will come in, and specific ones will come in. And I actually experience it that I'm not separate to the team on the light ships, that my consciousness is here embodied, and my consciousness is there on the ship operating simultaneously. And my human mind cannot grasp the finer details of the greater picture all the time. There's an awareness to a certain level, but actually what's unfolding in the grand orchestration of this recalibration of our planetary body into galactic Gaia is really quite profound. And it's no wonder there's so many observers here right now from other galaxies looking at, how are the Earth team doing here? Are they going to get this together? Yes. Is it going to happen? Yes. Let's watch. It must be the best movie beyond Netflix that's available right now in the Milky Way galaxy.
Yes, it's a quite exciting movie to be playing. It's a be acting that, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, now that you are saying about this simultaneous coexistence with ourselves, with our own fractals, I believe that it's, we have been talking about this in other calls, the fact of remembrance, like the time dilation in between things have already been done in other fields, and how long it takes to be manifested here. It is, it adjusts based on many constants that we are, like dealing with in our daily reality, and also sensing to this reality that has been created and the earth cycles, so it's a full alchemy, bringing all the ingredients together in order for things to fully align and manifest as how we have already created them from a higher levels of consciousness. And then, for instance, this fact of remembrance, like we can have all these visions, we can have all these dreams, or like actually bringing the information that we were doing at a hyperspace level, and then start to breathing it in and activating and saying, okay, now what am I going to do with this information? How am I going to put this together in order to deliver it through my own embodiment in the way that I can, based on what I am currently experiencing, because our nature is like to evolve, to want to know more, to want to do more, and I believe that this is where all this amnesia state is also to be transcended more and more, because the amnesia can only be harvested or enhanced when there is no synchrony in our brain hemispheres. Speaking at a biological scale, when our brain hemispheres are fully synced, then like there is no place for amnesia, because our neural paths are coming together and generating these beautiful synapses that are directly bringing all the information from the space memory. So I'm very happy that you're doing that, creating the full and the entire enrollment for these courses that you will be offering, and because one of the things that I love the most about what you do is that earth walk. It's bringing all that information to the body.
Yeah, we're all here on an earth walk, whether we're conscious of it or not, and most of us have all walked here before. And this is the earth walk beyond earth. So many earth walks when we get to fully realize ourselves as multidimensional beings walking this earth, and get to play a really conscious, proactive role in the planetary pantomime that's playing out. And it's not coming from a place of mind, it's coming from the wisdom of the soul. And the mind body, emotional body, and physical body are our earth team to implement the information that's coming from our soul. And how do we know the information we're getting is correct? Is through the body, because we can viscerally feel it when we're embodied. So this is why that integration into these extraordinary animal bodies of our extraterrestrial nature is vital for us to be able to make art of this life on the earth plane, and to really fully enjoy it with unconditional love, with non-attachment, and remembering that we're loved is just the key to all of it. And then, of course, that frequency, once stabilized, is the one that changes the way we're experiencing reality and our interconnected nature. And all of that connection with nature, with our God brain, the unification of the brain, which is not separate, it all exists. It's simply a matter of clearing out the clouds that are preventing us from experiencing that reality. And it's really beautiful what's unfolding right now, and at the speed of which it's unfolding. And I think what's really important as we're coming to the end of this really intense Lionsgate passage, which is at the end of the June solstice, the two big full moons in July, which is marking the end and the beginning of the Metonic cycle. And the Lionsgate passage, which signifies the hierarchical rising of Sirius, or some refer to as the spiritual sun, it's been a pressure cooker effect. And there's been a lot of ceremony, there's been a lot of gatherings, there's been a lot of processes. And to know that as we go through this process, it is like a washing machine. And there will be moments of ecstasy and elation and enlightenment. And often after those, they're followed by a big wave of heaviness, of denseness, of overwhelm. To know that's actually quite a natural cycle, that when our system, physically and energetically, intakes a whole lot more photonic light and connection, it will naturally push up anything from the unconsciousness for resolution. So rather than dwell in the mud, say, okay, it's time to get out, the pickaxe and shovel a bit more and make more spaciousness. And we will arrive at a place beyond where we started.
Yes, yes. And now that we're talking about the importance of the main key being love, to all of this information, that if you don't embody it through the heart, then there is because it's the heart mind, and I believe that the idea of love has been so corrupted, speaking about there is no need anymore, just allowed to be everything that you have already done. And, be aware that that timeline, that best timeline that you, from the core of your heart, you want to embody, bring it, assume your power, your sovereignty, and bring it, to life. And when there is this idea of love that has been so corrupted, then I believe that that's one of the things that it's very important to start expressing what is the true nature of love. You talked about the the attachment, and like we talk about freedom and like expressing and wisdom and enlightenment and all this um ideas and facts that before they go into a concept, the fact of really embodying them is enabling the natural process of our body to evolve and generate those upgrades, like for instance, if you don't know what your heart is and how it functions, it not by this I don't mean like, yeah, you need to study how it works. No, it is I can assure you that perhaps there is this man or this woman that hasn't heard about this at all. You know, he hasn't ever heard about what we're talking about. Nevertheless, he or she embodies such a divine wisdom that he has come to feel, or she has come to feel their hearts and know that everything is, how it is the moving, how it is spinning, how the things are not linear, how uh, like just come limiting life into a circular motion. It's also perpetuating, cycles that are not going in and going out. They they really embody a high level of wisdom. So this is what I'm talking about, about knowing how our nature works, to be in introspection, to want to know more about us. That's also love, to love ourselves, to see how do I function, how am I perceiving reality, how, that willingness of assuming that we are our most important mission, be committed to ourselves. And then all this high level upgrades and technology, when I'm talking about hard technology, there are many ways to reach it. The thing is to really connect with that essential and pristine manifestation of love. And that actually is the key to be able to connect, even in different words, through different beliefs, with the essence and expand and irradiate as these stars that we are, with the beautiful encodings of earth that we also have.
It's so true. And it's why all our major religions all all use the words know thyself. And it's to know thyself. Know thyself as love. Know thyself as this physical human being. And know thyself as this extraordinary, timeless, eternal, multidimensional, intergalactic Stargate, and how that operates. And that's when we get to enjoy the mystery and magic of life and its simplicity.
Yes.
Or simply being here in these bodies that are designed for play, passion, and pleasure can be done in a really conscious way and with so much love and respect for our sexual life force energy. And that is fuel also for our creativity.
Yes.
And our unique expressions on earth at this time. We're not here to be like everyone else. We're here to be our unique self. And it's time to let our freak flag fly. And give others permission to do so.
Yes, yes. And now that you were talking about that, I imagine, like, for instance, it's like our physical body wants to be the Syrian one, or the Syrian one wants to be the human one, or the Lyran, or, and so forth. Then it would be a chaos, like each one shall deliver its own purpose and mission in order for all of them come together, as one, as the source, that as well is connected to the source to all. And that happens also like at a human scale, because you were saying, like, when you want to be like another one, because there is this one huge recessive program imprinted in the unconscious mind, which is being part of something, so if it's like, okay, if you are like that, then you're part of us. So, and this comes at every layer, even in the spiritual community, like, okay, you want to be spiritual, then you have to be vegan. Or then you have to dress in white and go to all these ceremonies, and like, and each one of us has a unique way of making sacred everything. And when we respect that, then we're actually weaving into higher forms of reality where things are not imposed. Every soul has a very specific rhythm and role play to fulfill. And the more that we respect that and honor that, the more that we are actually being in that coherence to be in unity. Otherwise, it's like labeling and not being able to transcend archetypes, and, from the businessman to the priestess to the student, to the master, to the guru, to the, like at many layers. And I feel that that's part of what this simulation reality is nourishing from, those emotional voids that could be triggered for not knowing thyself. you know? So
And when we don't know ourselves, we need to belong to something instead of realizing we belong to everything, and we're
exactly.
not separate from anything. And it is really important to be aware, to, if somebody or a path or a group resonate, is walk with it for a while. If you're called into, you'll have something to learn there, something to grow there, and be true to you and your own truth. Again, truth is discerned through the physical body, a connection with our soul. It can tell us yes or no. And don't be attached. And when that's complete, have a look around and see what's next. We are on a rapidly evolving planet right now, and if we're not evolving, we're devolving, quite simply because evolution is so rapid right now. And I remember when I first started connecting to my stellar self, it was very much influenced through the Syrian star system. Everything Sirius, everything blue was just resonating with me. So I dove into all sorts of it, YouTubes and writings on Sirius to help better understand myself. And then I watched that open into Cerulean and Pleiadian system. And a lot of our red road paths are orientated from and through into the Pleiadian star system. And then I
Yeah.
started going on journeys with a lot of Pleiadian sisters and brothers. And then I became aware of the Pleiadian Syrian alliance that are here to support the handing over of space-time management on the planet. So then I was exploring that for a while, and that interconnected with a lot of planetary work. And then my system literally went multistellar. And I'd have that times with Arcturians and time with Lyrans and times with Andromedeans. And as that happened, my system was then able to help support others into the main star system they're affiliated with. And not so that they should stop there or get attached there, but to continue on the journey because they were strong through that star system. Yes, you'll start remembering yourself faster through those strengths and be open to expansion and greater connection and greater unity on the journey.
Yes. I believe that and I perceive and I've seen it, how our body indeed is generating all these upgrades that at a very cellular scale, and where all these realities of long life lasting, and like what we would read about in ancient texts about people, like being 380 years old or even more. I believe how I can see how all of this is also being this preparation, because at some point, if we are talking about fifth dimensional form of perception, we're talking about making our temple, our home, our body, uh, to make it capable to receive all these high level frequencies, and evolve into a higher form of expression of this human body into um, a neater way, a clearer way of interacting with the rest of the fractals, like, and this is beautiful because then you can see how all of these fractals will be actually coming together, you know, and yeah, it's so beautiful.
As you
It's
say
so,
that, yeah, watch it coming together like diamonds and light. And what happens is with that there's transparency in the system as well. And it also reminded me that, it's not just energetic work and it's not just physical work. It's a combination of the both
exactly.
that really helps our embodiment journey. When I was doing my remembering through the Red Road path, and I was asked, how by people, I met them like once every 3 months or 6 months. And people say, how are you shifting and maintaining your shifts? And if I wasn't asked that question, I wouldn't have thought about it, because it just is. But what I realized is I'd stepped out of Africa, everything I knew and everything I thought I was, and a home and the perception of what others thought of me, experienced me as, and felt of me. So I wasn't holding myself in an old way, and I had nobody else holding myself in an old way. And then I'd go on these deep, intense journeys of mass energetic clearing and purification. And in my integration spaces in between, I would actually receive a lot of the best body work I could find to really help integrate the changes on a visceral, cellular, physical level through my human body. Because once it had changed, it had shifted in the energetic body, in the mental body, in the emotional body, and in the physical body, there was no going back. My system said alchemy makes the fixed become fluid and the fluid become fixed. So it was enabling my body to alchemize the situation and to move to a new space in my evolutionary journey and create a fluidity that was less inclined to get stuck. I wouldn't say never got stuck, because I certainly had got stuck again and needed an extra shove to get unstuck. But remembering these bodies are not fixed, they're a fluid process. And if we perceive them as such, it gives them the freedom to shapeshift as well.
Yes, yes, I love that word, shapeshift, because I feel how that is coming even more and more and more, you know. I remember that there are several pictures that have been taken of me and also of other people, that when we are in these specific portals, you can literally see the shape shifting, you like literal. And because there is no veil anymore, and we are literally expressing through the camera what we are integrating at that moment, because we are capable to access to those bodies that are ourselves at another dimension, and then bring it to us and use those codes to serve a specific purpose of activation, of consciousness expansion, so, and it's so beautiful, and yeah, like we can connect it, to a very biological form, of our body, shape shifting. It's also at a very multidimensional level, it's impressive, the beauty of our body, it's like the more that I know how our body, the potential of our body, the more that I become in love, of what our body is, our temple, our vehicle.
Yeah.
It's sacred.
And as you speak into that, it just reminded me, when you were talking about Egypt earlier, I was watching you shapeshift, and it was, look at your face was literally looking like the profile of Akhenaten. What's your soul relationship with Akhenaten?
It's a very deep one. Actually, I have pictures in the Great Pyramid that you can see this part, which is his lips, and like the 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 lines here, and also the nose. And I'm like, yeah, I am. Akhenaten was one of the first consciousnesses that called me in Egypt. And the two books that I have written so far in English and in Spanish are in full connection with him, So yeah, I have a very direct connection with him. Yeah.
Yeah, you are of that same monad. It feels, yeah. completely.
Yeah. Well, this is when it comes to our multidimensional body, like how putting everything together, because we are the memory of the universe, so we can tune into different stages and like feel how connected to them, like we are really embodying that in that timeline, embodied in that timeline, and then right one after another, like this happens to me, like you talked to me about one timeline and I said, oh yeah, like I was there. And then another one, of course, yeah. But wait a second, like they're one after the other. So how? And for me, this is one of the biggest things that has happened in our memory and how we are restoring it, because as non-linear beings, like, we are and to some extent, because we have been living in a linear form of perception, so therefore we have already integrated that. When it comes to our true nature, our original nature as non-linear beings, then we're capable to come through different timelines, playing roles, different roles. And actually, there is our pristine encoding, our primordial encoding, which in this case, for me, it's quite connected to the star family of Akhenaten and way beyond. And yeah, many many interesting memories as a soul that there are, right?
It is. And one beautiful thing I've noticed, that as we connect more to our monadic galactic self, as we come into more coherence and recognition of that aspect, it has a mm, an effect of osmosis into others who are on the planet and of the same monad. It's like when we start, we're doing all our physical human stuff to clear all our conscious mind, our unconscious mind, reconnected to our soul, our homo luminous embodiment. When we come into our homo galacticus and we're embodying our galactic self, by osmosis, those others in our monad on this earth at that time are receiving the benefit of that, and it accelerates their evolutionary process, and it brings us into connection with one another.
Yes.
The more I connect to my galactic self, the more of my monad I'm naturally attracting through universal law of attraction. And that's really exciting, because we're starting to see how we are here to remember how to operate as a monad on the planet, not beyond the soul family group, which is powerful. We get to start operating from a monadic galactic connection and coherence.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Indeed. And that's what we are doing here, right, sister?
It is, and that's where we started with this eclipse in 2027, this Luxor eclipse. It feels like there's going to be a number of monadic groups operating simultaneously in synchronicity around the planet at that time.
I know that you mentioned it. I see like this huge, like vessel with a very like a very specific liquid or substance that mirrors everything. So we are coming into that substance, that suspended substance, like spheres that when spheres of water are going back through the very same resonance to the source to all. I can feel it that way going to that vessel, and inside that vessel there is all this grid to all this to this stargates and portals that, due to the very same resonance, each one will be like moving to this to each one specifically, each one of them specifically, yet contained in the very same vessel. And that very same vessel is held by all the labor that we have done so far, keeping in coherence to what could be happening in the rest of the reality. You know what I'm saying?
I'm looking at the inner earth oceans in synchrony with the planetary oceans, in synchrony with our oceanic consciousness, all coming into harmonic together. And it's extraordinary because it's literally a turning point, a tipping over point and a resolution point. Wow.
Yes. Yes. And a lot of things will be opening through Luxor and being that crucial point of where many things related to the primary stages of ignition of the particle of light, as you know, like all this information for the human to be capable to ignite their light bodies. And a lot of the stargates actually there, that like the primordial stargates are there, you know, like in that desert of Waset, of Luxor, of Thebes. um it's going to, you know, crack open, and yeah, many things are going to, and the capability of the human consciousness to pick up all those codes and information and ignite them within, regardless where you are at. You know, it will be an arc opening the way through.
Wow. Thank you for being here now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you everybody who's joined us on this journey today
Yes.
of remembering. I love our dates in the Cosmic Cafe because we never quite know what's going to come through. And it's always such an extraordinary adventure and a blessing to be able to interface with your system in these times arise, because it certainly helps my remembering when we meet, and it opens our view of the potentiality of our reality.
Indeed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you as always. And it is a pleasure to, and a joy and a bliss to remember with you and walk, you know, in a very specific way as how we are. And tuning into what each one of us is doing, you and I, and everyone else that will be watching this transmission, and looking forward to our next encounter.
And whenever we get to meet each other in the physical, I look forward to that time too.
Me too. Me too. It amuses me where and when.
Yeah. Much love, dear sister. Much love, everyone. And blessings upon your earth walk at this exciting time of evolution for our planet and humanity. Until next we may meet.